Hello, I'm Lewis. She's Val.
Val.
And we
Hi.
are the FigmentsInTime players. Isn't that right, Valerie?
Yeah, yes, we are. Hello, friends.
And we are back with a new season, some new concepts, some new ideas, some new craziness. We have a lot of things going. And if you want to see our stuff like our blog or our we have if you're listening to this, we're going to putting this out as a podcast as well. If you're watching it, you may not know that. My wife's wearing one of our t-shirts that you can get on TeePublic. I'm going to put up the link here to my link tree. And if you go to linktr.ee/Disney Pick a Day, you can see all of our links, all of the things we have going on for you. So go there, check it out. So we have a few new segments. We're going to talk about our last episode and how wonderfully well we did doing all the things we said we were going to do when we went to our show. We're going to add a new segment where we're going to give our 2 Figments worth. We're going to tell you how we feel about some news, some up-to-date stuff, because we felt that was necessary. There's been lots of changes. And we're always like yelling it, and this is our outlet. We're going to do true Figments, and these are going to be some videos that I've taken in the real park. And they're true Figments because, frankly, you can't fake, this happened. I can't say, and the band came out and they gave us roses and food and they took us backstage and we don't have any video of it. We're lying completely. And we're just going to try to have a little fun. And we're going to have our normal Figments. So we have a couple of stories to tell today from the past.
We do. We're excited. We have had, most of you guys know, if you've been following us at all, a rough year. We've had some health issues. We've had some things that have happened that have slowed us down from our original plan of starting our YouTube channel and doing our blog. I love to write, and I was looking forward to really being involved in the blogging and posting and doing a lot of different things. And we were sort of sidelined for several months. And you guys have been great to be patient with us and to listen and to keep up with us, because our heart was just, we have been going to Disney. We're huge Disney fans, obviously. And we've been going to Disney for over 20 years now. And we realized we had so many great stories and so many great memories that we would love to share, not just with our friends, but also with our family and with our grandkids. And so we thought this would just be a fun way to do it. And if you want to join along with us for our storytelling and our insanity that is, happening on most days with us, then we would love to have you follow along with us.
All right. So let's recap the Figments from our last show. First thing I said I was going to take pictures of numbers at the parks. I was going to put together something where I could put countdowns up. I could be having, we're about 20 some days away from our trip. I'd have a 2, I'd have a 7, 27 days. I'm going to show you every single picture I took. Okay. Next topic. Literally took none. Didn't even think about it. Didn't even cross my mind.
We had a little bit more difficult of a trip than we expected.
And it was rough.
We were only there for 4 park days. So we were at each park one day, which is unusual for us. But this was an add-on trip that we just did for my birthday. And Lewis planned a lot of really great things to do for my birthday. And then I really, really struggled. I'm having some health issues with post-acute COVID. And so my stamina, my strength, my breathing all became an issue while we were there in the humidity that is Walt Disney World in August. And so I wasn't quite able to be at the parks as much as we had planned, and we had to change our schedule. And Lewis ended up having to really take care of things for me a lot. And we sort of forgot all of our plans.
Not all of them.
No, well,
many of them. We'll see.
Yeah,
I have pictures.
We didn't do the numbers. We didn't do my trip to Baseline Tap House. We didn't look for hidden Mickeys. We didn't.
Okay, wait. We did look for hidden Mickeys. We found one. We found, if you look on the screen, at when you go to Mickey's Runaway Railway.
That's true. We did.
And as you enter the pre-show, on the screen there is a hidden Mickey up by what appears to be the Chinese theater, the China Pavilion in Epcot.
Right.
Or it may not be, but it's.
I don't think. I mean, it looks similar to it, but it's this beautiful Chinese mural that they have, and it does have a hidden Mickey in it. We were excited to see that. I was excited to actually be able to go through the queue a little bit of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway and be able to see some more of the things. And so we spotted that one. So that's true. We did get one hidden Mickey picture in.
I also said I was going to look for the details around the park. Mm-hmm. And I took this picture of a sewer grate, and it's got a little Mickey on it. That's not really a hidden Mickey, I don't think. But if you're listening to this,
yes,
it's quite a picture.
It's a picture of a sewer grate.
If you're watching this, you're thinking, why am I watching this? I thought they were going to improve the quality of the pictures. The next thing to our recap, one of the goals we had was to see a certain feature that's been added to a certain beloved park and get a feeling for whether we should hate it or not.
In the World Showcase in the Lagoon at Epcot, they are preparing some new things for the nighttime spectacular that's called Harmonious. And there are some barges that they have added to the World Showcase Lagoon to be able to facilitate Harmonious. And as we had been hearing people talk about it and look at pictures, we knew that it wasn't great, but we didn't think that they looked quite as big as they do in person.
Justin Monorail, he told us these things are just horrible. And we'd seen pictures, and pictures lie, as I will know. If you use a wide enough angle lens, you can make the World Showcase Lagoon look like the ocean, and so they look really small. When we actually got up close, if you're looking at the picture, they're humongous. They're bigger than the buildings around the World Showcase.
And the circle that you see is not centered in the lagoon, which is still driving me crazy. When we first went in to the World Showcase, we came straight in, which is odd because we don't usually take that path going into the World Showcase anymore. Usually we're kind of coming in at an angle. But for some reason, we ended up, I think we had been in the test track area or something. And so we just came straight down the middle of the walkway coming into the World Showcase right at the center. And normally when you walk in and you look at the center of the lagoon, you see the America Pavilion. And now you see this huge circle that's not centered on the American Pavilion.
The only positives I have about these barges is technologically, if you took them out of here and you put them into a theme park that doesn't have a pretty view around the around the area, they are amazing. They are humongous. I mean, you can scroll in here and see the size of these things. The people, I mean, that's a hand railing. People fit on these. They're huge. I mean, they're magnificently huge. That's the only good thing about them, which is not really a good thing.
Seriously, that's not really a good thing because
not for Epcot.
The fact is that it literally obstructs your view from one side of the lagoon to the other. In most every single angle, there were very few, as we went around, very few angles that weren't completely obstructed by the barges.
It was raining while we were at Epcot, but I really wanted to get this in.
Good evening. We have rain suited up and we are here live at Epcot, and we were going to tell you and talk to you about this blight on our beloved park, and that is the barges. The barges, okay? Rain suited up.
Let's just say it wasn't drizzling. It wasn't your typical quick Florida shower that we are so accustomed to happening to us when we are at the theme parks. It was a downpour.
It was so much fun. I don't. I can't tell you how much fun it was. I was so wet. You're wearing a poncho, and I have a nice one. I got at REI. It's a hiking poncho, but when you're out in the hot weather in the poncho, you're sweating inside the poncho. You can just sweat either way, and it's just raining so hard. So that's one thing that we're gonna put out, and I have a whole 10 minutes of that, just talking about the just talking about the barges. We're not going to talk about the barges anymore. This is enough for now. We will come back to that after our next trip, after we've seen Harmonious, after we've seen maybe, I don't know. We may come there and you see the show and you're like, that was worth it.
Well,
but I cannot even fathom, even if they have eagles flying in, like real eagles flying in, sitting down and talk to you, and then F-15s fly over. I can't imagine the show that makes it worth it. But
no, I said I posted my picture on Twitter, and I said that I truly do trust Disney, and I am putting my faith in the fact that they must really believe that the Harmonious is going to be worth the look of the barges during the day. And so I am holding out hope, and I am still going to put my faith in that fact that Disney is going to provide something that is well worth it. But I, at this point, cannot imagine what that might be.
We have doubted Imagineers in the past. Maybe.
No clue as to how that's going to happen, but we live in hope. So.
Okay. So the next detail I finally broke down and learned on my camera how to use the flash. Like I abhor flash tremendously, but here I'm at the Tower of Terror.
That's a great picture of Tower of Terror.
And I turned on flash, and so I could see some of the details. Like you can see there's a stack of Popular Mechanics magazines. And some of this kind of shows me the problems with being a theme park photographer from 600 miles away, is that I take these pictures.
Great.
And now I want to see more.
You can really see the pickles in the pickle jar this time.
Yeah, that was a fun little thing I did. I also took, for the first time in my life, pictures of It's Tough to Be a Bug, the foyer. This is the sign. And it's weird. I never actually knew what this said. This is now playing It's Tough to Be a Bug. I take pictures of all the pictures inside. There was nobody in the theater. I think there was maybe 10 of us by the time the show started. But there was like 2 or 3 people in there when I first got there. First time I've ever had that happen. And then I was able to get a shot of just the whole theater with the lights and the
That is incredibly cool. Just that entire theater. If you've never taken time to go inside the Tree of Life to see It's Tough to Be a Bug, it really is a very unique experience, because you do feel like you're traveling deep into the inside of this tree, and they have all of these great puns and wordplay on signs and marquees and coming attraction posters. And so it's a lot of fun to see all of these neat details. The lighting in this space is amazing. And so just to be able to see the creativity that went into this theater, and the show is excellent. It's one of my favorite 3D movies. It has not aged to me. It's still just as much fun to see it now as it was the very first time we saw it. I will say, if you have young children, I know that a lot of times there'll be warnings about, if you have young children, this attraction might be a little scary, or, and you kind of go, they'll be fine, or, they see lots of, it is a very scary movie for young children because of all of the special effects and the lighting and the way the bugs sort of come at you in different areas. Of course, it's a very unique show. But you do want to be super mindful. If you think that your kids might be nervous by it, you might want to see it first before you take your children in to see it, because we see parents taking children out of the theater in the middle of the movie on a very regular basis when we're in this particular show.
I'm completely in disagreement with her here. Just take your kids. The screams, it just makes it better for everybody. No, I mean it's good advice, obviously. The final picture I took was this picture. I finally got a good picture of the Tangled bathrooms 15 years ago.
For those of you who are listening, it's actually a picture of the old Skyliner. Honestly, I wish I
think
could,
it was the Skyliner.
I wish I had known so I could have looked up the
Skyway.
actual name. The buckets that went across Fantasyland, where the Tangled restrooms are now. There used to be sort of a ski chalet kind of looking building where the sky buckets would go through. From I guess it went from like Tomorrowland into Fantasyland. I'm trying to remember. I can't remember where the other station was. It's been so many years.
Some of the truly nostalgic probably are crying right now. Now we're going to segue into our next section of the show, in which we're going to talk about a little news. And for this, I'm going to don the hat. What a hat. This is how we know things are different. I'm Scoop McCoy here. Okay, it's no scoop to know that Disney did two big things since we started talking, since we were actually at the parks. One, annual passes are back.
Yay!
With some big changes.
Theme park Rob, yay!
Slight
annual
changes.
passes back. Okay.
He's our local friend who moved to Florida just as they stopped selling passes.
Yes.
So he had waited until just now. It's been like a year, over a year.
It's over a year. We've been really hoping for him because that they were waiting until they moved to purchase the passes, and
total cruel.
Been a little crazy in the world.
The second is Genie Plus, which is Fast Pass Plus that you pay for. Now I have some. I didn't do this segment to start with because I may have some opinions here that are slightly unpopular. And it's not just because we're super duper rich people. Okay. I am the cheapest person ever. Even when I've budgeted for things at Disney, I'm like, I gotta pay $10 for food for dinner for 15 people. I gotta pay $10. Forget this. We're out. We're going home. So what do you think? How do you feel about? Let's start with Genie Plus. What do you think about Genie Plus?
I'm excited. I'm excited to see how it works. We've talked about this before in other things, in other discussions. The way that fast passes have worked have obviously changed over the years that we've been going to the parks. And every time we do have these changes, we have to sort of readjust to a new schedule, to a new way to work things, to a new way to figure out how to get the most of our day. So I am hopeful that Genie is going to be a useful tool and going to make the parks even better. I don't expect that we'll do it every time we go to the parks, because I expect that some days we'll be doing other things and we won't feel the need for them. But I don't know. We'll see.
Even Scoop over here is thinking, yeah, we'll probably do it most every day we go to the parks, unless we're not feeling like doing the parks. I feel like original Fast Pass was awesome because you got there and it was a completely clean slate. You didn't know what was happening. So you were able to sometimes do more, sometimes do less. Okay, fine. Fast Pass Plus, basically you got one good ride,
right,
and two side rides. And then maybe you got something. I feel like once they got rid of Fast Pass for the pandemic, the lines move fast. Right. Sometimes the line to Seven Dwarfs Mine Train would be out down to Barnstormer. I mean, not joking. It's, no. Usually we'd say things like that. We're kidding, but I mean, it was there. You were 5 or 6 feet apart, but
right,
it was humongous. It's still pretty humongous. But it moves, and it moves fast.
Right. Well,
with Genie Plus, it should continue to move fast because I don't anticipate everybody's going to buy it. I think if the lines continue to move fast, then it'll be a plus. The people who buy Genie Plus will get something out of it, and everybody else will not be harmed by them as much as they were from FastPass Plus. Your point, which I think you should make, is about the great movie ride and how different it became after FastPass Plus came around.
Actually, the great movie ride did, but I think the one that I could tell the most from was the Haunted Mansion.
True, very true.
Because most people that know me know I'm a huge Haunted Mansion fan, and I honestly very rarely ever remember the Haunted Mansion being more than a 10-minute wait for years. Maybe right after the 3 p.m. parade, because a lot of people would be there at the parade and then they would kind of move, and the Haunted Mansion was really close. And so sometimes right after the parade, the Haunted Mansion might go up to 20 minutes. But typically it was a 5 to 10 minute wait in most of my memory. And then once they added Fast Pass to it was never under a 20-minute wait anymore. And usually more like a 40-minute wait. And we started seeing the lines come out into the little stable area outside. And so that's just really, I think that was the first attraction that made me go, wow, Fast Pass has changed the way the day was going. Some people really feel like, though, that it was just that was at the point where the numbers in the park started increasing. And that could very well have been true, because I know, like I said, we attended the parks before numbers really got crazy. And so it might be that just the numbers went up and it was just busier, but it just seemed to me strange that it changed so quickly from, like I said, a constant 10-minute wait to being more like a 40-minute wait.
I'm interested to see. I don't know. I think that's all to be seen. I do think, though, that Genie Plus is going to be more fun. And some people say they think, if it's the wait times are all 10 minutes around the park, Genie Plus is not worth the money. I, on the other hand, think when times are that slow, Genie Plus is going to be worth more money.
Because then it'll be a walk-on? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because if I can get 10 minutes back per ride, how many more rides can I get in a day? I don't know. I think it's going to be great.
Well, it's been interesting to see. And I did say that we did see the improvements. I understand the reason why they've made the changes that they have. We were talking earlier. I remember the days when Toy Story Mania first opened. We were able to get a good 9 or 10 rides first thing in the morning and then throughout the day, because of the way we would do that attraction, going straight to it, riding it a couple of times, getting a fast pass, using that fast pass, getting the next fast pass. And we were able to get 9 or 10 times out of it in a day, which is really something that we're striving to do. But now, once they changed to that, and we went from the paper fast passes to using our phones to having the Fast Pass Plus, we were lucky if we were able to ride it twice in a day.
Yeah, we could always do 6 times, even if it was busy.
Without waiting. And we're saying this in that our goal is that we don't wait more than 15 minutes for an attraction. Once the line gets above 30-minute waits, then we would move on to something else. So it can change your day, and it can change the way that you plan your day, and it's going to change the way that we plan our day. It's just going to take us some time to learn it.
Okay, I don't have pictures of this either. I probably should consider throwing up a picture when I'm editing of this to the days when we were waiting to get in there for Rise of Resistance, back when Galaxy's Edge opened. Back when Rise of Resistance opened at Galaxy's Edge, and we all had to be there, and there were just mountains of people. But
at 6 o'clock in the morning,
I think the overcrowding is the real bugaboo that I'm hoping. And I always make these hopes. When I see something like what they've done with raising prices, my hope is that 2 things are happening. One, the cast members pay. That's That's good, right? They increased the cast members paid to at least $15 an hour. That's good. If they want it, if that's their job and that's what they're doing, it's fantastic. And we knew we were going to have to pay a little more for that. Nobody's I heard a lot of people saying that as they're complaining about these prices. But yeah, I mean, you got to pay more people. You got to pay the people more, etc. The also thing is,
cast members deserve more than what they make. Because they are really what make the magic in the park. So they're incredibly important to us, and we want to see them do well, and we want them to be appropriately reimbursed for the work that they do.
Yeah, and especially now when it's really hard. I mean, they're giving $1,000 bonuses to go work at Disney right now, which is, I mean, you think how many passes are they going to charge to get to there? How are they paying for that? But the second thing is the overcrowding had gotten insane. So the weird part about Disney World is that if you think about supply and demand, there's a limited amount of supply, and there's growing and growing demand as there's more people in the world and more people working. So they got to do something. I'm hoping that they didn't just raise prices to make money. I'm saying that as I say it sounds incredibly stupid, but my hope is that with the reservation system, they're going to limit attendance to a more reasonable amount, and they're going to charge the greater amount, and that'll work out for the best. I mean,
it goes back to what I said about the barges. We are putting our faith and trust in Disney knowing what they're doing and trying to make the experience better for all of us. And so we are trusting in that hope. So
there's been a lot of people asking, is there a price point where you would stop going? And the answer is, of course, there's always this price point where you'd stop going. But that price point is we're not near it as long as the product's worth it. Right. We're getting, yeah.
Right.
It's kind of like just a Galactic Star Cruiser. I think it sounds really cool, but right now the price for what they've showed us
is perfect.
We may be fighting about that later, but not later
episode.
Later when it comes out, we start seeing videos. When we hear what people say about it, but we'll come back to that for sure. We may go. I don't know that I could go based on what I've heard. Having a half day in Galaxy's Edge during the day when other people are there I couldn't see that.
I'll tell you all about it.
Give me a half day in Galaxy's Edge without other people. Oh my. Yes, that might that scales.
We just said we weren't going to talk about it. So let's move on. Let's save that for another day.
All right. So that was our 2 Figments worth. Now, let's.
Oh, I like that. You took off
old
the
now. I'm fairly old now. All right. So we're going to do our Figments in Time. And these are a couple of little stories we have to talk about today. And the first one is about.
We are super excited that the announcement came out last week that Club Cool is returning.
Club Cool, baby.
Well, let me say, I have mixed feelings about Club Cool, to be quite honest. I have not always loved it because the entrance and the stickiness of the floors just were not my favorite. But you always had to stop at Club Cool. Always.
Free cold beverages. Free. Free. Disney World. Free. They gave free slushies on your birthday.
Yes, they did.
Free. You can't buy that.
You can't buy that.
That's just something you can't buy.
This is true. It is. I mean, it was a great place. It was a unique place. It was like this little, air-conditioned oasis in the middle of Epcot.
She hates it so much. Sometimes she'll sit outside in the hot. to
I
not
would
go in this place.
Well, you could there were little ledges on the edge of the windows beside the door. So whenever people would come in and out, you'd get a little breeze of the air conditioning and you didn't have to have your feet stick to the floor. So it wasn't too shabby for Val to sit outside and wait for you on days that I just couldn't stand the thought of the stickiness and the people.
But there was one thing we did love about Club Cool together,
Yes.
and that was
The Beverly.
Not because we like the taste, but because tricking people is fun.
Well, and it was really funny. This particular trip, this was one of the trips that we had with our daughter and son-in-law and our granddaughters. And this was actually the trip where our youngest granddaughter was old enough to really participate in the trip and really, remember things that we were doing. And we realized on this particular visit that we had never taken our son-in-law to Club Cool. I don't know what made us think about the fact that none of them had ever been before to Club Cool and we needed to take them. But now, obviously, our daughter had gone with us for years and years. And so she was very familiar with Beverly. And I think maybe she and I were talking, and that's what made us realize, wait a minute, Andrew and Addison and Aria have never had Beverly before. And so what we decided to do was to basically lie to them and tell them that they had to come to Club Cool and try the best tasting Coca-Cola that they would ever have in their whole entire lives. That Beverly was our favorite and that we always had to stop and get a sip and that it was just better than regular Coke. It was better than Sprite or any other kind of Coca-Cola you could have. And so we encouraged them, but I told them that I wanted to take a picture of them having Beverly for the first time. And why that didn't ring a bell in Andrew's head, why is she wanting to take a picture of us as we take a sip? But I was just sort of like, oh, your first trip to Club Cool, we've got to take a picture of you drinking your first sip. And I was so worried that they were going to hear somebody in the store say something about how horrible Beverly was, but actually what we ended up with was several people around us just really enjoying the moment and waiting to see how they reacted when they got their first sip of Beverly. And so it turned out to be a really fun moment.
They loved it.
There they are. I couldn't believe that it turned out so perfectly for all three of them to literally take a sip at the exact same time, but they did. Of course, the minute that I really saw their faces, the reality hit me of regret in that, oh my goodness, I just lied to my grandchildren and they believed me that it was going to be good and it was not. So just the look on their faces was just so perfect. And so it was just this excellent moment. So that's my favorite, one of my favorite Disney trip memories ever, but definitely my favorite visit to Club Cool.
Lies and deceits and poisoning.
But now I will say, for those of you who maybe have never gone to Club Cool before, and of course now we've ruined Beverly for you because you know that it tastes horrible, but not to everyone. Some people really like Beverly, but
ruined, help them. I mean, come on.
Beverly, don't let the worry about the taste of Beverly deter you from trying some of the other flavors that are at Club Cool, because I will tell you, like, for example, the flavors from Brazil are some of my favorite sodas. When we would go to Brazil on trips, I would often bring soda back from there because I love the taste of it so much. So don't let that keep you from trying all of the other flavors and from trying Beverly. I still try Beverly occasionally just to remember what it tastes like, just for the fun of it. So,
and our friends at Dillo's Diz, I love hearing his stories because it tastes like some medicine he took when he was a kid. And he likes it for that reason, which I find that's a nostalgia. I get their love for nostalgia, but it tastes like a medicine. It's not. Okay, so our last figment in time tonight is...
The other announcement that we were excited to hear is that the store in Epcot, the large store, is going to be opening again soon. I will have to say that Mouse Gear is one of my very favorite shops, has always been, because of the unique items that it would have, because of the number of items. If I was in a hurry trying to get a lot of gifts for people to bring home, then that was the store that I sort of waited for, because I knew I could find a lot of things there, and I knew I could find a lot of different things and a lot of unique things that you wouldn't find at other stores. I will say the last couple of years of Mouse Gear, it was becoming more common items like all the other stores. It was harder to find the unique things. You usually were finding the same things in Mouse Gear that you found in other shops throughout the parks over those last couple of years. So it wasn't as great of a place for me to hit if I was looking, for a bunch of different things, as it had been in the past. But it always drove you crazy because I tended to not call it Mouse Gear.
Yeah, Mouse Gears. I love it.
I would always add an S to it for some reason, and I don't know why. I don't know why I did, but I always said, "Let's go to Mouse Gears," and Lewis would say, "Where? What?"
To be fair, so did I. Many years until I realized it was wrong, and then it's one of those things. There's an episode of How I Met Your Mother where you hear something wrong about a person and the glass breaks. It's kind of like that. Once you hear something wrong, there's some terms in computer science that I know right. I know correct that everybody's uses wrong. It just drives me nuts for that one very reason. So it's kind of funny. So Mouse Gear was great. I didn't mind that it was the generic store. I kind of wish it was the generic store, right? I wish every park had a generic store. And then every park had tons and tons of real stores. Right? You go to the Everest shop, which actually has quite a few Everest things. You go to the stores in Animal Kingdom. I want to see Animal Kingdom oriented stuff. And then I want to go to one store that has all the Disney stuff because we know, right? When you go your first time, you don't want to get an Everest shirt. You don't want to get the stuff that's the base around that park. You want to get the park. You want to get the Disney World stuff. I did this just the other week. I made a video for my Dollywood things, and I went to buy a shirt, and I found a shirt of my favorite ride, but I went with the Dollywood shirt that says Dollywood in a very generic sort of way, because you want to start your collection of shirts with things that say, "This is my park."
I feel like the name of this episode is going to need to be Back When We First Started Going to the Parks, because I feel like I've said that a lot while we've been talking here today. The thing that I loved about the shops when we first started going to the parks is that almost every shop was unique, and you found different types of things in different shops. So, when you went to one of my very favorite stores was the Writer's Stop in Hollywood Studios.
Yes.
It had so many unique things back when we first started going. It had stationery and books and all of these little different kinds of unique, like odd items that you wouldn't find in other places. And then slowly it sort of morphed into a kitchen store, and then slowly it sort of morphed into just a place to get some coffee and maybe have a couple of books that you could purchase, and it had different things in it. And the items that you found in it were the same items that you could find at like Mouse Gear, or that you would find at the Emporium, or that you would find. And so the thing that I loved about that time when we were first going was that you had all these like unique little shops, and you still see that in places like you mentioned, in the gift shop at the Tower of Terror, in Memento Mori, in some of these locations where you do just find items that are just Haunted Mansion, and there are some unique items for just Haunted Mansion that you're not going to find in Mouse Gear or in the Emporium. But the problem that I see now is that so many of the stores just all have the same things. They all have that generic, just Walt Disney World item kinds of things. And it's not that I don't enjoy finding those things. Like you said, it's kind of neat to be able to say, oh, I want to get this, Walt Disney World shirt, or I want to get this Walt Disney World mug. But there was just something about, for those of us who go 3 or 4 times a year, to be able to pick up some unique items and some different things and some things that are just not that generic.
Okay, so we're going to take a little break. And we will be back in just a moment with our last segment of True Figments. Okay, wow, that was a long break. We're going to do our segment True Figments now, and this is going to be things that are wholly true. They're videos that I took in the park. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the Jammitors. And I have a clip here. If you've never seen the Jammitors, if you're listening to this,
You need to look for them the next time you go.
It's a lot more fun watching them than it is to listen to them.
Come and get it! Yeah, that's right, everybody. Gather round, and welcome to the Epcot International Food and Wine Festival! Woo! Hey, we're gonna cook up our favorite dish, just for you. What's that? Jam. Hey, how about a little Canadian bacon, baby? A 1, 2, did it, D. Here we go! Thanks, everybody.
The Jammitors, I love them so much.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this and not watching, these are three people here on stage. They have fake ovens. I mean, they may have been real ovens at one time, but they and they have plastic buckets and drumsticks and pots and pans.
Well, first explain that they're street atmosphere actors that are in Epcot on a regular basis. So they are normally traveling around the park as janitors with the buckets and the supplies and things that a janitor would have, but they're the Jammitors and they're using those things as percussion instruments and they put on a show and they're just amazing. But during Food and Wine, they change it up a little bit. And so instead of being janitors, they're chefs. And so they have pots and pans and spoons, wooden spoons, and the ovens and that kind of thing.
What she said. And they tell corny jokes and they sing funny songs, but mostly they beat on stuff.
And they have been in the parks in Epcot for as long as I can remember. I mean, I think the first time we saw them were one of the first couple of years that we went to the parks. And so they've been around for a really long time and they're great guys.
Well, it's interesting you should say that. Let's see, how long have they been in the park?
How's it going? How you doing?
Great. I'm glad to see you guys are back.
He's a good guy.
I haven't seen you guys in a while. Last time I saw the Jammitors, they weren't you.
Now, if you want, we can put the kids in here.
And that scared me.
We're the 5K band, and then there's Friday and Saturdays a different cast, and then we've got subs that rotate through.
I see.
I like popcorn.
But you guys are the ones I remember, so.
Yeah, he's the original.
From a long time ago. I mean, you've been doing this a while.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
He's the big toe.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
The big toe. I like it.
I like your curly hair. You're fancy.
You've been doing this quite a while, though,
Oh,
right?
yeah, I just had my 17th year in July, full-time.
Oh, yeah. And I've only been coming here about 20 years, so.
Yeah, I was with the band. This is my 20th year with the band, but 17th full-time.
Very nice.
Yeah, it started as a summer job in college. I went to school for electrical engineering, and I was like, man, I just like playing drums. I'll just do the student band and stuff during the holidays, the Easter parade, and Christmas parades, and then I was like, man, I really hate school. This is so much fun. This is way more fun. So yeah, it's been great. I'm up to like almost 20 bands in my 20 years.
Oh, cool.
I played with it, subbed. I used to do the show at Swotu at Pandora. And I've done stuff with the Village Beatniks in Animal Kingdom and all over Magic Kingdom. That was my home for 10 years, was Magic Kingdom, and I loved it. It's such. There's no other place like it.
I know, right?
Like that's. I walk in there and I feel like I'm a kid.
It's a different place.
This is fun. This is an adult park. It's still for kids too, but like this is Magic Kingdom is still like home.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. I love it. And you get there if you ever been there for park opening when they have all.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Oh, it's just like, all right, now I get it. Like this is what it's about. This like you see the kids dressed as princesses, like just freaking out, losing their mind when Chip and Dale, like of course, yeah. But,
I didn't know.
Yeah, I'm not the real one. I'm just, I'm not the real Dale. I'm not nearly as hairy. Well, cheers. Have a great day.
Thank you.
That was great.
So yeah, they've been around a while.
They have. It's neat
Just
to
a
see the
little
same
while.
people over and over again. Like we've had conversations with them before after shows and things. And so to see them, the same ones over and over again, that's what I like to do. I enjoy that.
I have one little extra clip of them, and this is them quite a few years ago.
This is still during
2014.
Food and Wine because
Yes.
there's still the chefs in this one.
Yes, he did say give me a fish. So I will be posting the entire show that day, both of those shows, as much as I have in a little side episode in the coming weeks. Okay, so I believe we've come to the end, or should we say the beginning of your future. Now go away.
Thank
This
you
works
for
well on the
spending time
podcast.
with us, friends. We enjoyed it very much.
All right. So next time we'll be doing something with our lightsabers we both have built from Savi's. You can see mine on the wall right there.
Mine here.
We're really good at this pointing thing.
It's going to take some time to learn.
I'm hoping to stage an epic lightsaber battle in our backyard, but we'll see.
I'm anxious to share with you what I thought about Savi's and our experience there, and it was a lot of fun. I'm anxious to share that.
And we'll keep it fairly spoiler free, but I am going to post again the entire show. I got a video of that. So we will see you when we see you. I'm Lewis.
And I'm Val.
She's over there. Goodbye.
Bye, friends.